Cinnamon rolls are a huge part of our family tradition. I make them all the time for holidays, starting with Thanksgiving all the way to New Year's. And I've given out my recipe a lot, and I've realized that they're much trickier than I've realized, and maybe I haven't written it down perfectly well because there's a lot of little tricks along the way. And sometimes they fail and sometimes they're amazing. And so I've taken a little time to make a video for you because this is the way I like them, with lots of icing, lots of swirls, lots of cinnamon. These are the way I like my cinnamon rolls. But the amazing thing is these are plant-based and no one ever knows, because you absolutely cannot tell the difference in beautiful baked goods when you make them plant-based. So I'm going to show you some of my secrets. This is a very traditional recipe. It's an enriched dough, which is super flavorful, and usually enriched means it's got milk and eggs and butter. And so I'm doing it the same way, except I'm just substituting plant-based substitutes for those things. Now in baking, it's not always an exact one-to-one, but in this it works out really well. I've kind of figured out what works. Our tradition is that we have dinner rolls on Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Day, holiday meals, and these are rolls that I grew up eating. So what I do is on Thanksgiving morning, I would make a double batch of this. I'm gonna make a single batch right now, but I would make a double batch of this. And then I would use half of it for dinner rolls for dinner. The other half would stay in the fridge, and I would make cinnamon rolls the next day. So this is the dough that I use for both of those. And you could use it for one or the other, or do like I do, make a double batch and make them both, or just make a giant batch of cinnamon rolls. You'll be very, very popular. So for the milk, I have soy milk. I do think soy milk works the best because it has the highest protein content, but you could try others. This is a vegan butter, and for the eggs, I'm going to substitute for eggs this egg replacer powder. So all these plant-based ingredients will just, no one will know the difference, but it'll be kinder to the planet and to you. And so this is 3 teaspoons of egg replacer powder. This is made up of potato starch, tapioca starch, some leavening ingredients. I use different egg substitutes depending on what I'm baking, but for cinnamon rolls, I really like this one brand, Energy. You could try others as well. And feel free to try other egg replacer ideas. I just know this one works really great. I'm going to mix that with 4 tablespoons of water. So that's 3 teaspoons to 4 tablespoons of water. Half a cup of sugar. This enriched dough is sweet, so even the dinner rolls are just a tiny bit sweet. This is not a health food. Just in case you didn't notice, this is not one of my healthy recipes. But you know, there are those moments in life when you're just having a treat, so this would be that. I've got a teaspoon of salt. Now depending on if I use salted vegan butter or not, I might reduce this. I think this butter was salted, so I'm going to take off a 1/4 teaspoon of that because I know that it was salted. So a 1/4 teaspoon for every half cup. Okay, I have 1/4 cup of lukewarm water. How do I know it's lukewarm? It's a touch kind of deal. It's warm, but it's not hot. That'll help activate my yeast. I need to add 3 teaspoons of active dry yeast, and I want the yeast to be pretty fresh. So if the yeast is old in your fridge, take a look at the date, and this is one thing you do want to have not too old. 3 teaspoons. Now I can add all of my other ingredients. I'm going to add my sugar, my melted plant-based butter, the egg replacer to the plant-based milk, my salt. Okay, I am using a mixer, as you see. And if you want to do this by hand, you can absolutely do it by hand. You're going to stir all that together, and then you're going to gradually add in your flour. Then you're going to turn it out on a flour board and knead it. I'm going to use my dough hook, so I actually am never going to knead it by hand, really, which is kind of amazing. But I want a very soft dough. When you're making bread, there's lots of different kinds of bread, and some of them need the gluten to be more structured, and so you really knead them a lot more and you add a lot of flour. But cinnamon rolls are like a weird cross for me of, they're not just a hearty bread, they're a desserty kind of item, and I like them very soft. Everyone has a different pleasure in cinnamon rolls. Some people like them tall, some people like them flat, some people like them wide, but I really like the dough to be soft and not too much like a regular piece of bread. So given that, I don't overwork it. So the mixer works great for me. I'm using the dough hook, and I gotta raise my bowl. There is a secret sometimes if the dough hook doesn't go all the way to the bottom of the bowl, or any of your appliance attachments, you can kind of take it off of the thing and let it go lower. When the dough gets really heavy, sometimes that can be a problem though, so be careful. But that will help me just mix up my ingredients. Let's talk about the flour. When you see the recipe, it's going to say for a single batch, it's going to say 5 to 6 cups of flour. And that I know can be scary, but it's really kind of depends on the weather, how everything is feeling in the day. So if you really are worried about 5 to 6 cups, just go with 5.5. But if you're kind of excited about the idea of kind of feeling it out, just kind of feel it out and see, is it too sticky and soft at 5? Is it too tough at 6? It might be different for you. It might be different for the kind of flour that you purchased. So you do kind of have to feel it out. But if you're nervous, just maybe go with 5.5. If you're really nervous, just go with 6. And then maybe next time you'll be a little more daring. I'm going to add my first cup of flour. I'm going to keep the mixer going. It's going to be loud, so I'm just going to stop talking, and I'll add them gradually. I'm going to count so I don't forget. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to scrape down the side of my bowl, but I also want to tell you that I always count out loud. And I kind of shout it because I'm hoping somebody else in the house will also hear it in case I forget. And it just happens, especially when you're in a house with kids or just anyone. People come in to talk to you and you just forget what your count is. So I shout them out. So I know I'm at 4 because I just shouted it out. So I just scraped that down. And guess what? I'm going to go to 4.5. 4.5. Okay, this is where you start to make decisions. You're like, still way too sticky, so I'm going to go with the 5.5 that we talked about. 5.5. And also when you turn your mixer on, don't turn it on too fast because it'll go everywhere. A la Lucille Ball. We've all done it. Go a little slow. Also, if you're doing this by hand, you would just be stirring it in and working it in. You do kind of need to speed up your mixer as it gets thicker because it actually labors more. It's at a low speed, so you're going to have to go a little faster. Ooh, this is good. So there's a tiny bit of stick to it, but I know that when it's chilled in the fridge, that's going to go away after it rises. So I'm going to stick here because you're going to add a little bit of flour later when you roll it out. So again, this is my 5.5. It's a little bit of a leap of faith. May not be perfect, but feels right to me. So I have a bowl ready to go. Now, one thing you can do is use the leftover vegan butter on the wrapper to grease your bowl. If you need more, use more, but that's ready to go. All right, so my dough is gonna go in this bowl and it's gonna rise for 1.5 to 2 hours in a warm place, not hot place, but a not cold place. I'm gonna scrape this out of my bowl. This is a scraper that my good friend Laura made me, but if you can't find something like this, this one is made out of a hard plastic. I know we don't love plastic, but this one I actually cut myself. I had a cutting board, an old cutting board that I didn't want to use as cutting board anymore, so I just cut that out myself. Scrape your dough out of the bowl, and then you get all of it, and you plop it in your bowl to rise. Now you'll notice that because I made it in the mixer, I didn't even take it out and make it into a beautiful round ball or any of those things on a floured surface, which you would do if you're making by hand. I just put it right in my bowl. Ah, it's so pretty. It's very pretty. Just so you know, at this point, it's still a tiny bit sticky. I would not say it's not a little sticky, but it's not like so sticky you can't touch it. And it's still really soft. It's not like an overly tough dough. So it's kind of ideal right now, but you'll get the feel of it. That's why that little bit of extra flour or a little less flour, you'll get to know it. If your cinnamon rolls come out sort of firmer and tougher than you want, then maybe you want to pull back next time. If they're a little too deflated, then maybe you got to up it a little bit. But each time you make them, you'll learn what it feels like. Now I'm going to cover this with a towel and let it rise. So when you poke your finger in and release it, and it leaves a little dent, but then the dent gradually comes back, that means your dough is just right. If the dent never comes back, it's overproofed. And if you can't get a hole to be in there at all, a dent, then it's not risen yet, but that was great. Now I'm going to divide it in half. And I'm going to put it in the bags and weigh it. In our family, we usually have dinner rolls for the holidays. So what I would do is get up in the morning, make the dough, let it rise for 1.5 to 2 hours, punch it down, divide it up as I did, and then chill it. And then in a few hours, when it's dinner time, take them out. Well, an hour and a half before dinner, take them out, shape them into the rolls I want, let them rise again, and bake them. And then the other part, I would make cinnamon rolls the next day. And by the way, if you have little kids or even big kids, some of the things I love to do are punch down the dough and shape the rolls. So this is super easy for them to do. Of course, making the cinnamon rolls is really fun too, but punching the dough and shaping the rolls, very fun. Okay, I have just washed my hands for the 25th time today, and this is my roll dough that has been in the fridge. And you want to work quickly at this point because it's cold, and you want to take advantage of that because it's easier to shape it when it's cold. So this is where it's really fun to have a little bit of help, and you're just going to pinch it off and make 3 little balls in the cup, and these will rise, and I'll bake them. Phineas is going to be so happy. He loves rolls. A lot of times they're like, they almost want more rolls than cinnamon rolls. Not really, but they're always like, don't skimp on the rolls. My dinner rolls have risen, and I want to get them in the oven before they have overproofed. It's always a little bit tricky. We'll see. Okay, these look perfect. If you want to, you can brush a little melted plant-based butter on them, maybe a sprinkle of sea salt, or just eat them straight out of the oven. I have mixed together a cup of sugar, this is organic sugar, and 3.5 tablespoons of cinnamon. I like it really strong, and I have this amazing cinnamon. One of the secrets, of course, to my cinnamon rolls is the amazing cinnamon that I use. I try to find one that has lots and lots of flavor. I put it in my container, but it was a Vietnamese cinnamon that really is really strong. And when I say strong, it has really cinnamony flavor. It doesn't taste like dirt. If you get one that tastes like dirt, your cinnamon rolls are going to taste like dirt. So try to get a good, strong cinnamon. And I mix that with my sugar. I have a half a cup of butter, half a cup of vegan butter, which is 1 stick. And per roll, of course, I'm going to use part of that. I've got some flour for rolling out my dough. I'm going to use some of this to coat my pan. This will be enough for both of my pans and both sections of the dough. Here we go. I'm going to roll out our dough. Now I've cleaned off my work surface really, really well. Sometimes I use a large mat, but it's not very pretty, so I just going to show you on my very clean surface here. I'm going to lightly flour this. Not tons of flour, just enough that it won't stick. Remember, the dough was a little bit sticky, but because it was in my fridge all night, it got firmer, and as it rises, it gets firmer. I'm going to form it into a rectangle. I'm going to start it as a rectangle, and it's nice and cold, but it'll soften up as we go. I'm going to go from the inside to the outside like this, and I'm going to make 24 rolls today total, which means I'm gonna go for my rectangles to be about 15 or 16 inches long. I want my dough to be about a 1/4 inch thick. I'm not super crazy about making it perfect shaped either, but I do want to get my general size right. But I don't think it's worth the time to be so crazy. They're gonna mush in the pan and they have a rustic look anyway. So now I'm gonna make this rectangle about 16 inches long, but you can vary this if you want to have rolls that are less circles or less swirls. You might make it longer and less wide. I am kind of working quickly at this point, just because it's easier to work with it when it's cold as it warms up. Because it's such a soft dough, when it warms up, it'll be a little bit tricky. Do you have a yardstick? Today I'm using a yardstick. I do not always do this, to be honest. But yeah, oh, that's really good length. But I think it could be a bit wider. It's a little too thick right now. So I'm gonna work that direction now and make it a little bit wider. Or I guess this would be longer. Oh yeah, this is good. 1/4 inch is kind of my benchmark measurement that I'm really looking for. This looks pretty good. Does not have to be perfect. Nothing in my cooking is perfect. It's not what I care about. What I care about is the taste. There's a thing people do sometimes called the window pane test, where you stretch your dough and you look, and it has, this would be more when it's rising, but it stretches, you can sort of see through, it's transparent. So this got a good feel and good look about it. Happy with it. I'm gonna take my measurement again, so I just kind of show you. Yeah, it's 16 by 13 or 14. I'm gonna probably go to 14, to be honest. I think that's kind of my magic number. Okay, there we go. Pretty. You see how it kind of stretches back? That's what dough does. It resists you, and then it kind of has to relax, chill. It goes, okay, I trust you. I'm gonna let you roll me a little bit further, and there we go. Okay, now I'm gonna take my softened butter. It's not fully melted. A lot of times I do this with a fully melted butter, to be honest, because I just, screw up and melt it too much, and that's fine. You just use your hand and spread it all over. I'm just trying to get it over the whole thing. Some people mix their cinnamon sugar into this. I find that kind of difficult to get it really even over the whole thing. And my goal is to have every bite taste perfect and cinnamony. And I think my children say that I say the words, I put E's on the end of them. I say cinnamony. I think that comes from Pee Wee Herman, to be honest, because Pee Wee Herman always said, cinnamony. So I guess I do it. All right, so I spread my plant-based butter all over the whole thing. I lost my shape a little bit in doing this, so next time I think I'll soften it a little bit more. I was trying to show you that I wasn't melting it. Okay, so I have my rectangle. Now I'm gonna put my cinnamon. What I do is I kind of sprinkle it down the center first, and then I go across each one. That way I cover every little bit of it. Again, trying to make them all perfect. Not perfect looking again, but tasting. Now, sometimes people leave the edge uncoated because they want to seal it up. I don't really care about that because I like the little tail. I like kind of unraveling them. So I made a little extra cinnamon sugar so that I don't have to be worried about it, and cover every little bit. This should also cover you if you decide you want to have more rolls. If you want, this is to make 24 good size rolls, but if you want to make 32 rolls, you would either just cut them, instead of like 1 1/3 inch, you'd cut them 1 inch and you'd get 16 out of this. Or conversely, you could roll it larger, shape this way, which would give you 16 of the same size, but a few less swirls. So there's a lot of variety. It's up to you. but this is gonna work great. So now I'm gonna roll. I'm gonna lift it up, tuck it in. This dough is really good. Sometimes it's not. I made an entire batch recently, like very recently, like trying to make this video recently. That was not good. The dough wasn't good. I could know the minute I touched it. And there's a lot of reasons that can happen, but this dough is really good. I'm rolling it relatively snugly, but I'm not squeezing it all. So it's kind of a balance between tight or snug, but not squeezing it. You don't want it loose, but you don't want it so tight that it's going to pop out the top too high when you make the rolls. Okay, I'm getting there. I might have changed my measurement in here a little bit, so I'm just gonna take a peek. If you need a little help here, this can help you. I know I want 12 out of this, so let's get it to 16. So I'm gonna go about halfway here, and I'm gonna make a cut. You can just eyeball this, by the way. You don't have to be so perfect. So I'm gonna cut down the middle, and then I'm gonna cut again, each in half. I'm gonna make a little mark first. And here's the really important thing. Gently saw, don't push at all. And I know there's a lot of people like to do this with dental floss. A lot of people like to do it and use a pizza cutter and then roll them individually. To me, those have a lot of things I don't want, like the cinnamon sugar falls out the side on some of those methods. They squeeze a little too much. So people love those methods. That's great. I like this. It's just really important that you saw without any pressure. So it's a little bit of patience, kind of a fun activity for kids to do because you have to make sure everyone's really careful. And then these, each section, I'm just gonna eyeball them and make sure they're sort of pretty even and make them into 3. And then I will cut them with the sawing after I'm pretty sure I like the shape, the size. Hi, love. So I'm just gently sawing so that I don't squish them. Into the pan they go. If you're really being careful, you might want to put all of your swirls facing the same direction. I usually don't take the time for that, but for you, I will take the time for that today. Now, if your tail falls off like that, that's okay. You have a couple options. You can take the tail. Some people tuck it under the bottom. Sometimes you just tuck it in like this. I just don't really care too much because as they rise, they're going to be together anyway. So, but that's some of the things you can do. Super happy with these today. Not always. Bread making is really finicky and things can throw you off. So don't get discouraged if you make them, they don't turn out exactly like this or exactly how you want them. Then next time they will. You just have to kind of learn and look back. Just gonna put a light towel over the top like that, and they're gonna rise. I'm gonna look at the time. My kitchen is fairly warm, so that'll speed up the process. It's not hot though. If it were cold, everything would take a lot longer. If this was the middle of winter and it was chilly, I might turn on my oven for a little bit and then turn it off and then have it just a low warm off oven and put them in there. But then you have to be really careful not to turn your oven on while they're still in there. Yes, I have ruined many things in my life doing that. All right, they have risen. It's been 1 hour and 40 minutes. It depends on the temperature of your kitchen again, but these are great, so I'm gonna put them in. I'm gonna put some on the bottom. I'm gonna put these on the top. Okay, now when the cinnamon rolls go in the oven, I need to make the icing right away because I like to ice them pretty soon after they come out. Just let them cool a little tiny bit and then put it on. So I generally make this shortly before they go in the oven or even while they're in the oven sometimes. It's 9 1/3 cups of powdered sugar. This is organic powdered sugar. Now, if you are using grams and you want to weigh them, I'll try to figure that out. But again, it's not that specific that if you get off a little bit, it's gonna matter. So that's number 2, always count out loud. 9 1/3 cups of powdered sugar. Now I have 1 cup of vegan butter. I'm gonna use 2 different kinds right now just because I love to experiment, but I would go for more unsalted than salted. A little bit of salt is okay, but not a ton. I'm gonna put my whisk attachment in here. Of course you can do this by hand, but I really like how fluffy this gets. Because my vegan butter is really nice and soft, this is gonna work out great. But I'm gonna add my milk, but I'm not gonna add all of it because I wanna see how much it needs. Again, I like it fluffy, I don't like it runny. It's gonna melt on the cinnamon rolls, and so you'll get that kind of really kind of liquidy melt, but I like to be really fluffy in the beginning. So we'll add a little bit at a time. I'm gonna let this cool for just maybe 5 minutes tops, maybe not even, and then I'm gonna put the icing on when they're still warm, and it'll melt all over them and it'll be delicious. I usually use an ice cream scoop, which is one of the best ways to scoop out the icing and then put it on the rolls, and then I spread it down with a spatula. I like a lot, a la a very famous place that makes cinnamon rolls. One of the things they get right is the icing.
Rhymes with schminishman.
Rhymes with schminishman. Here they are, iced and ready to eat, and still very, very warm. Some people think you need to let them cool off. No, eat them warm. They're great, but they do save really well, and you can wrap them individually once they are cool and freeze them. But we're gonna have them warm. This one looks amazing.
Exciting.
Wow.
Wow, good stuff. Huge.
Whoa, that looks perfect. Patrick?
Mm-hmm. Next one in line.
Billy's gonna be sad because she's on tour and she's not here for this, but lots of icing, lots of swirls, lots of cinnamon. There's cinnamon all the way through. These are the way I like my cinnamon rolls. This is not a health food. The cinnamon is good for you. But the amazing thing is these are plant-based and no one ever knows, because you absolutely cannot tell the difference in beautiful baked goods when you make them plant-based. So, ooh, they're pretty.